What up, world? This is the GoalNet recording live here from outside of Chicago. Today's a big video. The GoalNet started right around the time of 1S launching at retail. So I think that was 2016. So it's been about 4-ish years now. I did use 1S and I did review it, and I think if we look back on the history of goalie pads in a few years, that's going to go down as one of the most important releases in history, along with like the original Vaughn Velocity and maybe the RBK Premier line. But this pad has Stabilis slide. Definitely the most new, unique, and innovative thing I think I've tested since the GoalNet was started. And again, I had the 1S skates, but at some point, as the GoalNet's evolved, I've had a lot of opportunities to test and try new gear, spent a lot more attention on gear, and also had some pretty unique access to actually work with the equipment manufacturers, get some insider understanding of like why they designed the gear in a certain way, had the opportunities to tour R&D facilities, factories. So seeing the Stabilis slide and actually reviewing it feels big to me. It's kind of like the most important thing I think I've had to talk about and review since the GoalNet started. So really excited to be doing this review. And if it's not obvious, the review is the 2020 Bauer Supreme Ultrasonic top of the line goalie pads. There's also a corresponding review for the glove and the blocker, so you can check that out as well if you're interested. So I'm going to run through the highs and the lows really quick, and then we will actually visually check them out. Stabilis slide, check. It delivers. It's fantastic. Bauer is still the best in the market with rebounds. Definitely, Bauer is also the fastest sliding pad on the market. That is especially true on clean ice. The durability of the core is phenomenal. This pad breaks in a little bit and then it holds and maintains its shape, so it is extremely consistent over the life of its pad. Definitely cannot say that about every pad on the market. And I think this is probably one of the few pads I've tested where I really feel like this actually gives you, it's not like a better product. I think it actually gives you the opportunity to potentially be a better goalie because their rebounds are so hard. It slides so well and it seals so well with the Stabilis slide that I don't think you're going to get any squeakers, and you can also recover so quick from Stabilis slide. So those are the highs for me. The lows, I always struggle a bit with Bauer strapping, getting it dialed in. I can always do it, but it's definitely not like how certain gloves have a game-ready break where you can go right from the hockey shop to the rink and use them. Bauer strapping, I find, always takes a bit of adjustment. One of the key pieces for this year was the addition of the rotation strap or professor strap. Unfortunately, the strap itself felt like a bit of an afterthought, and I definitely hope that Bauer is able to improve this strap, the Tune Fit rotation strap moving forward. One of the favorite things, speaking about strapping with Bauer, is they were always awesome about giving accessories, lots of strapping. So as I mentioned, always took a little bit of play to get Bauer strapping to work in the fashion I was happy with it. It does not come with as many straps as it came from with years past. So less opportunities to do tuning and adjusting. With that, the toe bridge, Bauer's done a great job of expanding the custom options available at retail. As I mentioned, I'm always kind of tinkering with the Bauer strapping. I'd love the opportunity to try a more traditional, either HD foam in the toe bridge or maybe even the bolted on toe bridge. Bauer's got a very unique, flexible design there. So definitely a piece I feel like it would be maybe an easy mod for them to add to the customizer. I love the stiffness of these pads, but I do think that there are definitely some goalies that are going to find them too stiff. That's also why Bauer makes Vapor. So if you find these too stiff, check out the Vapor line. The new Hyperlight Vapor comes out in just a couple months. Lastly, to get a good quality stiff core, you need to use rigid foam. Rigid foams are heavier than lighter foams. It's a trade-off. These pads are definitely not the lightest on the market. I wouldn't say they're heavy compared to pad standard 6, 7, 8 years ago, but compared to where people are going, and it's also the trend towards softer pads, so it's not quite exactly fair because, like as an example, a Vaughn SLR pad is softer than Bauer Vapor, so comparing like an SLR weight to the Supreme weight is a little bit unfair, but you know, if you're gonna pick these up off the shelf, they're definitely not the lightest pads on the market, so definitely something to keep in mind. And then lastly, I think it's been really improved compared to years past, but I still do find that Core-Tech is not as consistent as some of the other sliding skin technologies out there, depending on the quality of the ice. Bauer is definitely not the only brand where I see the performance change a little bit on the quality of the ice, but it's definitely still there. And again, that's a bit of a matter of opinion. Unfortunately, I don't have the resources nor the equipment to like come up with some DOE and properly validate, is this opinion I have that they slide a bit slower on poor ice conditions in my head, because maybe it's that way in older generations, or is that fact? But again, sharing my opinions in this review, definitely feel that. I will say though that overall, it was less noticeable. Like the sliding is phenomenal. Like I think it slows down a little bit less maybe than it did on the poor ice before, but I still noticed that kind of choppy ice lag. So let's take a look at some of the highs and lows that I just kind of went over in the lightning round there, and we will take a look at the different technology inside this pad. So this is the Stabilis Slide knee stack. This knee block, I think I explained it pretty well in the deep dive video. Check that out if you want to get more technical. But this knee block is physically mounted to the pad core. It's not just sewn in like basically every other pad on the market. There's actually an L-shaped joint, almost like a shelf bracket, that goes from the middle of the knee block, wraps in, and comes to this piece of the pad core. The whole point of this is so that the pad locks into place and you can't really under or over rotate the pad once there's body weight on this. Absolutely delivers. The seal is phenomenal on this pad, and it truly is a feature on the pad that I think makes the pad perform better, and also one of those things that I think the goalie will get better with from use. One of the other things I noticed is that this compresses less than some of the other knee blocks on the market. So I find, as you can see as I squeeze this, like the cushioning layer on the top of this is still pretty good, but the rest of this knee block is really, really firm and hard. So what I find is that, you know, normally when you go down, you're putting 2.5 times your body weight, you weigh a couple hundred pounds, 2.5, you know, you're putting whatever that is, you know, 400 or 500 pounds, or 1.5, putting somewhere between like 300 and 500 pounds, but more than your body weight down on your knees. That's a lot of strain and stress. So it is cushy there, but you're sitting up higher because this lower part of the knee stack isn't compressing, because when you're putting, you know, 300, 400, 500 pounds, this is going to compress. So your leg sits up higher. I find that that actually sets your foot down here where your foot would be resting. Because you're sitting up higher here, it like more naturally lines everything up. And I found that I could recover faster in ultrasonic than compared to some other pads, because my leg was already, because my pad, my knee is sitting up higher in the butterfly and it isn't sinking. My ankle and my foot are more naturally in a better place to start the recovery process. So ultrasonic's Stabilis Slide is a huge feature. Don't sleep on it. As I mentioned on some of the low points, I got the strapping this year the best I've gotten Bauer strapping in a few years. It definitely took some tinkering. You know, you can see I took the knee elastic right off, so it's not a bad thing. It's just, like I said, it's not a pad. Some of the other pads I've tested, I know how to strap them and I go right out on the ice. Every year I'm always tinkering with the Bauer, but as with every year, I got this dialed in, and this year was definitely the best strapping they've had. But you'll notice there's a skate lace right here. and then it runs through the front and it's tied. Unfortunately, this piece of elastic, and what I found to me to be the best performance with the strapping is I wore this tight. And so there'd be times I'd be moving and rotating, and because the standard Velcro on this kind of felt like a bit of an afterthought, you know, wasn't as well engineered as the rest of the pad, the Velcro would come loose and this would come flying off during escape. And when you don't have a knee elastic as a backup, that's a huge problem. So I did a really simple mod. I poked a hole with a knife through the rotation strap and through the Velcro here, and just tied a skate lace I had laying around in my bag all the way around, and did it on the inside as well. So the lace kind of goes through the Velcro, you can see it there, but basically impossible to come undone. So I don't mind modding my gear. I actually kind of think it's fun. I have a whole Instagram account devoted to goalie gear. Like, let's put in context who's saying this, but I think modding your gear is kind of a rite of passage as a goalie, and it's fun. So I never mind doing the occasional little tweak, like adding the pro laces as well. But if you have a problem with it, or you just shelled out a couple grand for a new set of pads, I do fully understand the frustration people may find that the Professor strap isn't the level of quality of the rest of the gear. One other thing I'm gonna try in future iterations, actually trying, a lot of people make aftermarket Professor straps or rotation straps. I'm definitely gonna give one of those a whirl as well, just to see how that works, just because I didn't love this Professor strap. The other thing is, you know, I kind of want the strap to be a bit repeatable, so it's kind of obvious to strap it in the same fashion every time. Like if you look on the calf wing, there's all these segments. I found it was really easy to kind of put my Velcro in the same spot every time, because I lined it up in the middle, you know, under this strap on the segment. And I know my tune fit strap is about in the same place every time. This one I struggled with a little bit, just the way you've kind of got to Velcro it and then clip it. And this clip doesn't stay exactly in the same place every time. Like, it could use one of those loops behind it. So anyway, not gonna beat the dead horse there, but a little disappointed in the Professor strap, but the function works there. The Stabilis slide with the Professor strap is awesome. So definitely recommend this pad, but I definitely could see, like I mentioned, people being a bit disappointed with that. Again, just the quality of the strap itself. So unfortunately, rebounds and sliding are literally impossible to show in an at-home video like this, but one of the other points I want to talk about again is the core. I test a lot of gear, and even though I test a lot of gear, that means I'm not wearing things, you know, hundreds of times in a given calendar year. I definitely notice things can prematurely wear and start to soften up. I generally like a stiffer goal pad. But I think one of the key things is when we talk about durability, everybody worries if the edges of the material wear out or if seams pop or whatnot, and that's definitely part of the equation. But another key to durability is, does the pad hold its shape over time? When things get mushy, you're gonna start to see the seal degrade. You're gonna start to see maybe the rebound effectiveness of the pads change. And you also may find that your ability to slide goes down, because as they get soft, there's gonna be some loss of energy transfer. The way Bauer's done this core, it's gonna break down really slowly. So if you're looking to buy a set of pads that you may have for a couple years, there's definitely an argument to be made that with the core used in these pads, that these actually may be the most durable pads on the market, in the sense that they are going to break down slower, I believe, than just about any other product on the market. And I think this can be validated in the NHL, because pros are going through less sets of Bauer gear than just about any other brand in the market. So maybe you're in brand X, you're going through 6 to 8 sets of season gear per season. You go to Bauer, because the core maintains its shape significantly longer, you may only go through 3 to 4 sets of gear a season. So when we talk about durability, that's a huge factor we can't overlook at all, and really want to make sure that we're explaining that and hammering that home in this video. So in summary, this is a phenomenal pad. If you are in the market for a stiff goal pad, you absolutely need to check out Bauer Ultrasonic. Like I said, Stabilis slide's a game changer. Check this pad